Have you ever looked at your garden in December and assumed the gardening season was over? The flower beds are empty, the soil is cold, and everything seems to be waiting for spring. Most people think there's nothing left to plant, but experienced gardeners know that's far from the truth. In reality, December is one of the best times to sow many flowers and perennials. Winter naturally prepares their seeds for germination through cold temperatures, rain, and snow, creating stronger, healthier plants without the need for heat mats or grow lights. Seeds planted in December often sprout earlier, bloom sooner, and develop deeper roots and sturdier stems than those sown in spring. By letting nature do the work, you'll often enjoy better results with less effort. Today we'll explore 9 incredible plants that actually thrive when their seeds are planted in December. If you want earlier blooms and stronger, more resilient plants next spring, you won't want to miss this list. 1. Delphinium. Few perennial flowers create as much drama in the garden as delphiniums. Their impressive flower spikes can grow anywhere from 3 to 6 feet tall, adding striking vertical structure that immediately captures attention. Towering stems become densely packed with blossoms in brilliant shades of deep blue, violet, lavender, pink, and pure white, producing displays so vivid they almost appear to glow when sunlight shines through the petals. As breathtaking as they are, delphiniums also happen to be one of the best flowers for winter sowing. Their seeds naturally require cold stratification, a lengthy period of exposure to low temperatures that tells the embryo inside the seed that winter has passed and spring is approaching. Without this chilling period, many seeds either fail to sprout or germinate unevenly. Sowing them in December perfectly mimics the natural cycle they have evolved to depend upon. Throughout winter, they experience freezing nights, occasional warm spells, moisture from rain and snow, and repeated freeze and thaw cycles that gradually prepare them for germination. During these months, moisture slowly penetrates the seed coat, while alternating temperatures trigger important biological changes inside the seed. By the time spring arrives, germination begins naturally, and often much more evenly than when seeds are started indoors under artificial conditions. The difference is often remarkable. Winter-sown delphiniums usually develop deeper root systems, sturdier stems, and greater resistance to changing outdoor conditions. Rather than producing tall, weak seedlings that stretch toward artificial light, they grow gradually in their natural environment from the very beginning, resulting in stronger, healthier plants. Delphiniums thrive in fertile, well-drained soil enriched with compost or other organic matter. In cooler climates, they appreciate full sun throughout the day, while gardeners in warmer regions often provide afternoon shade to protect the blooms from excessive summer heat. Unlike tougher wildflowers that flourish on neglect, delphiniums reward consistent care, including rich soil, regular watering, mulch, and seasonal feeding. As spring progresses, dense clumps of healthy foliage emerge first, followed by spectacular flowering spikes that become completely covered with blossoms. Mature plants often produce so many flowers that staking becomes necessary to keep the heavy stems upright during strong winds or heavy rainfall. Delphiniums also play an important role in supporting pollinators. Their nectar-rich flowers attract bumblebees, honeybees, butterflies, and even hummingbirds, filling the garden with activity throughout their blooming season. Gardeners should remember that young delphinium seedlings often appear to grow slowly during the early stages. Once temperatures begin to warm and the roots become firmly established, however, growth accelerates dramatically, quickly producing the tall flowering stems that make these plants so memorable. Perhaps that's what makes sowing delphiniums in December so satisfying. During the quietest weeks of winter, you scatter tiny seeds into cold soil, and only a few months later, those same seeds transform into towering pillars of color that become one of the most spectacular sights anywhere in the garden. 2. Poppies. Naturally designed for winter planting. Poppies are famous for their delicate, tissue-like flowers, but few gardeners realize that their seeds are actually built for winter. In nature, poppies release thousands of tiny seeds during autumn. Those seeds remain on or near the soil surface throughout the entire winter, enduring freezing temperatures, snow, rain, and countless freeze and thaw cycles before finally germinating in spring. This natural process explains why spring sowing often leads to disappointing results. Without several months of cold weather and steady winter moisture, many poppy seeds simply remain dormant. They depend on cool temperatures, exposure to light, and repeated freezing and thawing to break dormancy and trigger healthy germination. Planting them in December recreates exactly what happens in the wild. As snow melts and winter rains fall, the tiny seeds gradually settle into small cracks in the soil. Frost gently works them into position while softening the seed coat. Because poppy seeds require light to germinate, they should remain close to the surface rather than being buried deeply. When spring arrives, poppies are usually among the earliest flowers to emerge. Their bluish-green seedlings tolerate chilly temperatures surprisingly well, while quietly developing strong root systems before the heat of summer arrives. Soon afterward comes the display gardeners eagerly anticipate. Late spring and early summer bring a breathtaking explosion of blooms in brilliant shades of scarlet, orange, pink, white, lavender, and dramatic bicolored varieties with dark centers. Delicate petals seem to float effortlessly above slender stems, swaying gracefully in even the slightest breeze. Poppies sown during December often bloom earlier, produce sturdier stems, and create much fuller displays than those planted later in the season. Many varieties also self-seed freely, allowing successful plantings to return naturally year after year with very little assistance. Their flowers are especially attractive to bees, which regularly gather pollen from the open blooms throughout the flowering season. As time passes, winter-sown poppies often spread gently through the garden, creating relaxed drifts of color that appear almost entirely natural. A simple handful of tiny seeds scattered across frozen ground can eventually become one of the most breathtaking displays anywhere in the landscape. That is perhaps the greatest magic of poppies. Their seeds are almost microscopic, barely larger than grains of dust, yet after surviving winter, they reward gardeners with some of the most unforgettable flowers nature has to offer. 3. Pansies and violas. Although pansies and violas appear soft and delicate, they are among the toughest cool season flowers a gardener can grow. These cheerful bloomers are remarkably cold-hardy, continuing to flower through frosty weather and, in some regions, even blooming beneath a light blanket of snow. Their ability to withstand cold temperatures is exactly what makes December sowing so successful. Their seeds germinate best in cool, consistently moist soil exposed to naturally changing temperatures. Winter provides these conditions effortlessly. Cold air, winter rainfall, snow, and repeated freeze and thaw cycles slowly prepare the seeds for reliable germination once spring approaches. Many gardeners struggle to grow healthy pansies indoors because warm rooms and limited light often produce weak, leggy seedlings. Winter sowing eliminates that problem entirely. The seeds remain dormant outside until nature determines conditions are perfect, producing compact, sturdy young plants that are already acclimated to outdoor life. Once established, pansies and violas quickly blanket the garden with vibrant color. Pansies produce large blooms often decorated with distinctive face-like markings, while violas create smaller flowers in far greater numbers, resulting in equally impressive displays. Their range of colors is extraordinary, including rich purples, brilliant yellows, soft blues, pure whites, burgundy, orange, lavender, and countless striking combinations that brighten the garden long before summer flowers awaken. One of their greatest strengths is their incredibly long flowering season. In many regions, they bloom from late winter well into spring, and frequently continue flowering through early summer, or return again in autumn when temperatures cool. Simply removing faded flowers encourages continuous blooming for many weeks. Their blossoms also provide an important early nectar source for bees, hoverflies, and other beneficial insects at a time when relatively few flowers are available. Pansies and violas are wonderfully versatile as well. They perform beautifully in containers, window boxes, raised beds, borders, hanging baskets, rock gardens, and nearly any location where cheerful color is desired. Perhaps their most surprising quality is their resilience. A hard overnight frost may temporarily flatten the flowers, yet after the morning sun appears, they often stand upright again, looking as though nothing had happened. That remarkable toughness is one of the reasons gardeners continue planting pansies and violas every winter. When the rest of the landscape still appears quiet and dormant, these dependable flowers bring color, beauty, and optimism back into the garden long before spring fully arrives. 4. Milkweed, a December-sown plant that helps save monarch butterflies. Among all the flowers you can sow during December, milkweed stands out as one of the most meaningful. It not only adds beauty to the landscape, but also plays an essential role in supporting one of nature's most incredible travelers, the monarch butterfly. In the wild, milkweed releases its seeds in autumn, leaving them to spend the entire winter outdoors where they experience freezing temperatures, snow, rain, and repeated cycles of freezing and thawing. This long period of cold weather is exactly what prepares the seeds to germinate successfully when spring finally arrives. Without this natural winter chilling process, milkweed seeds often remain dormant and fail to sprout properly. Many gardeners become frustrated when trying to start them indoors because the seeds never receive the prolonged cold exposure they naturally depend on. By sowing milkweed directly outdoors in December, nature handles the entire stratification process for you. Throughout the winter months, the seeds gradually awaken, allowing vigorous seedlings to emerge naturally as temperatures begin to rise. But milkweed offers benefits that extend far beyond its attractive flowers. It is the only host plant monarch butterflies use for reproduction. Female monarchs lay their eggs exclusively on milkweed, and once the caterpillars hatch, the leaves become their only food source. Without milkweed, monarch caterpillars cannot complete their life cycle. As wild populations of milkweed continue disappearing across many parts of the country, home gardens have become increasingly important for the survival of monarch butterflies. Planting milkweed in December helps ensure that healthy, established plants are already growing when migrating monarchs arrive in spring, searching for places to lay their eggs. Milkweed also supports a wide range of other beneficial wildlife. Its nectar-rich flowers attract honeybees, native bees, hoverflies, lacewings, ladybugs, parasitic wasps, and countless other helpful insects. During the height of summer, a mature clump of milkweed often becomes one of the busiest areas in the garden, buzzing with constant activity from pollinators. Plants started through winter sowing usually develop deeper, stronger root systems than those planted later. Because they establish naturally outdoors from the very beginning, they become highly resistant to drought, intense summer heat, strong winds, and other challenging growing conditions. As milkweed matures, it becomes an attractive ornamental plant as well. Rounded clusters of star-shaped flowers bloom in shades of pink, orange, purple, or white, depending on the species. Their sweet fragrance draws pollinators throughout the season, before giving way to large seed pods that eventually split open, releasing silky white fibers that float gently through the autumn air. One of milkweed's most fascinating features is the white sap contained inside its stems and leaves. This milky latex helps protect the plant from many animals that might otherwise feed on it. Monarch caterpillars absorb compounds from the sap while eating the leaves, making both the caterpillars and the adult butterflies less appealing to predators. For gardeners who enjoy creating wildlife-friendly landscapes, very few plants are as valuable as milkweed. It transforms an ordinary flower bed into a sanctuary that supports one of the world's most extraordinary migratory insects. Perhaps that's what makes planting milkweed in December so rewarding. You're doing much more than sowing a few seeds. You are helping provide food, shelter, and a place to reproduce for butterflies that travel thousands of miles every year. 5. Yarrow, a tough perennial that thrives with very little care. Yarrow has earned its place in gardens for centuries thanks to its impressive combination of beauty, resilience, and usefulness. Its finely divided fern-like foliage and broad, flattened flower clusters make it an attractive addition to almost any landscape, while its ability to withstand difficult growing conditions makes it one of the easiest perennials to maintain. Its seeds respond especially well to December sowing because they germinate best after spending time in cool, moist conditions with natural exposure to winter weather. Reproducing these conditions indoors can be difficult, but the outdoors provides everything the seeds need without any extra effort. When lightly scattered across the soil in December, yarrow seeds remain dormant throughout winter, while moisture and cold temperatures gradually prepare them for germination. As daylight increases and temperatures slowly warm in spring, the seeds begin sprouting at exactly the right time. Plants that begin life outdoors during winter usually establish much stronger root systems than those planted later in the year. Those deep roots allow yarrow to tolerate drought, intense heat, rocky ground, sandy soil, heavy clay, poor fertility, and many other conditions that would challenge less hardy plants. One of the reasons gardeners appreciate yarrow so much is its incredibly low maintenance requirements. Once established, it often grows happily with very little watering and rarely asks for much attention. Its usefulness extends far beyond its durability. For hundreds of years, yarrow has been valued in traditional herbal medicine. It has been used in teas, tinctures, salves, and other herbal preparations because of its long history of supporting wound care and helping soothe minor inflammation. Even today, many gardeners continue growing it for both ornamental and herbal purposes. Its flower clusters provide outstanding resources for pollinators. The flat-topped blooms create ideal landing platforms where bees, butterflies, hoverflies, lacewings, ladybugs, and countless beneficial insects can easily feed on nectar. Because the flowers are so open and accessible, they attract an incredible diversity of insects. Hoverflies often lay eggs nearby, lacewings patrol surrounding plants searching for pests, and pollinators continue visiting throughout the flowering season. Yarrow is also admired for its exceptionally long bloom period. Once flowering begins, colorful clusters often remain attractive for many weeks and sometimes even months. The blooms also dry beautifully, making them popular additions to dried flower arrangements and decorative wreaths. Its soft, feathery foliage adds texture to the garden, while the broad flower heads create bold horizontal accents above the leaves. Yarrow blends naturally into cottage gardens, pollinator plantings, wildflower meadows, and low-maintenance landscapes. It isn't difficult to understand why this plant has remained popular for generations. Yarrow flourishes under challenging conditions, supports countless beneficial insects, offers traditional herbal value, and faithfully returns every year while asking for very little in return. 6. Lupine, a flower that depends on winter for its best start. Lupines are among the most breathtaking flowers found in ornamental gardens, admired for their tall flower spikes and unique hand-shaped leaves. What surprises many gardeners, however, is that their seeds actually rely on winter weather to germinate successfully. Each lupine seed is protected by a thick, hard outer coating designed to prevent germination until conditions become favorable. Unless that shell is weakened, water struggles to penetrate the seed, delaying or even preventing sprouting altogether. Some gardeners manually scarify the seeds by lightly scratching the surface or soaking them before planting. But nature often does an even better job. When lupine seeds spend the winter outdoors, repeated freezing and thawing slowly weaken the hard seed coat, allowing moisture to enter naturally. By spring, the seeds are fully prepared to germinate without any additional effort. Lupines planted in December often establish much stronger root systems because they remain undisturbed from the very beginning. This is especially important since lupines develop long tap roots that dislike transplanting. Growing directly in their permanent location allows the roots to expand naturally without interruption. Once mature, the results are spectacular. Towering flower spikes rise above the foliage, densely covered with colorful pea-like blossoms. Depending on the variety, flowers may bloom in deep blue, purple, pink, yellow, white, red, or beautiful, multicolored combinations that create unforgettable displays during early summer. These striking blooms quickly attract hummingbirds, bees, butterflies, and many other pollinators. A large planting of lupines fills the garden with color, movement, and constant activity as beneficial insects visit the flowers throughout the season. Lupines also improve the soil around them. As members of the legume family, they work together with nitrogen-fixing bacteria that capture nitrogen from the atmosphere and convert it into forms neighboring plants can use. Over time, this natural process helps improve soil fertility while supporting healthier growth throughout the garden. Plants started during winter frequently bloom earlier and produce stronger, sturdier flower spikes than those planted later. Because they develop gradually under natural outdoor conditions, they often handle drought, heat, and changing weather far better than greenhouse-grown seedlings. Even before flowering begins, lupines remain attractive thanks to their distinctive palmate foliage. Their star-like leaves spread gracefully across the garden, adding texture and ornamental interest long before the flower spikes appear. Many gardeners consider lupines one of the defining flowers of early summer because few plants create such dramatic displays. Tall, colorful spikes swaying gently in the breeze, while hummingbirds and butterflies move from flower to flower, bring an unforgettable sense of life and beauty to the landscape. Perhaps that's why sowing lupines in December is such a smart decision. Rather than simply waiting for spring, winter becomes an essential part of their journey, helping unlock the strength, resilience, and spectacular blooms that make these plants so extraordinary.